right, welcome back to Road to the Conscious. My name is Thomas Brown.
Irvin Bryant.
Shout out to DJ for making our beat.
At DW Made That on social media.
And follow us on social media.
You can follow us at Kinda Woke on Instagram and Twitter. Relatively Conscious everywhere else. Like, follow, subscribe, comment. What do you think about this Jim Crow thing? They're bringing Jim Crow back.
All right, so Georgia has a new election law bill passed, right? Called SB 220. It's basically restricts voting in Georgia. It's mainly about voter ID, using voter ID in mail-in voting. But so really popped this off, brought us to national attention was, of course, people were really upset about this law being passed in Georgia. Georgia just turned blue for the first time, and I may get this wrong, but I think Georgia last time Georgia turned blue was either Jimmy Carter or Lyndon Baines Johnson, one of those two. So either
50 years ago. During
the signing of the bill, Georgia State Rep Park Cannon was arrested for in the state house because she knocked on the governor's door during a closed door session, and she had to. They arrested her. The state troopers arrested her and carried her out, and it became a real big to do. And Joe Biden called this law the new Jim Crow, right? And other people said the same thing. This is new Jim Crow. This is new voter suppression. This is the worst of the worst. And myself and Irvin are here today to rain on your parade because as two people who, we did a lot of work when it came to voter suppression in Texas and dealing with working in Waller County to get students registered to vote. I really just did not, it really rubbed me the wrong way when it called this Jim Crow. Am I wrong for thinking that way? Am I wrong for being rubbed the wrong way by this?
So yeah, let's go to the past. Location specific, Atlanta, Georgia, Jim Crow era. You don't even have to go to any other state in the South, whatever. People were fought by the police, by the state, for marching to protest not voter suppression, but discrimination. John Lewis, black and blue, beat down, arrested multiple times to ensure the right to vote. Where folks were openly denied, like, I show up to the voting location and you're not coming in here.
Yes.
That's the Jim Crow. Literacy tests in the older Jim Crow, grandfather clause, this, that, and the other. White primaries, where, it is what it is. Like, only white people finna vote. You're not coming in here.
John Lewis got his head bashed in. Like, it's split open during this time.
Tore up, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of Jim Crow. And so we bring that today. We have Brian Kemp banning certain strategies, essentially making it legal, certain strategies that black folks in Atlanta use to facilitate voting. And then what this representative here was actually mad about is the banning of distributing, quality of life amenities.
Yes.
Water, a little snack, a little food, because the line is long. And lines were absurdly long this past election because voter suppression did absolutely occur. And so, the line will now be uncomfortable because the water and snacks will not be provided.
But here's the thing about that. Technically, if the poll location wants to, they can put coolers on the line. They just can't man the coolers. So they can put a table with a bunch of snacks on there and a sign say take one and a cooler with water. You just can't hand the water to people.
So basically what you're telling me is you can vote. And it's not Jim Crow.
Yeah.
Because unless you get in black and blue, unless I see the color of your skin and say nope, unless the vote will be taken away from you.
Yeah. To really go into Jim Crow, Jim Crow is I will kill a Jewish kid and throw them into Mississippi. Like I will terrorize these people so much that J. Edgar Hoover got to come down here and investigate, because like you can't be killing white folks, man. You
Gone too far.
Yeah, you go too far, because like the Klan was doing too much, like entirely too much for even J. Edgar's taste. That's Jim Crow. We went to San Antonio just recently, and they have a lynching tree where they lynch people in San Antonio, Texas. Do people even think of that as a place where people got lynched? They got a lynching tree though, because I mean, you ain't supposed to do that here. You're not supposed to vote here.
And so we have the severity, I mean, the extremes, real oppression of Jim Crow. And then we have our Georgia state legislator here who, okay, the popular discourse called it Jim Crow. We've already debunked that. It wasn't Jim Crow. Voter suppression, which we are known to stand against.
Yeah.
Because, it's democracy. Stop playing. Just give everybody the vote, and then the people will decide. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
But Republicans are scared, racists are scared, and it is what it is. But then we have her actions.
Yes.
That's a separate issue.
Yeah, because the actions for me, so she went to the state house and she like knocked on the door because the governor was having the bill signed behind closed doors. And he says it was because of a COVID protocol. And I believe more so it was because Brian Kemp is not scared to sign SB 22, SB 220 in front of people. If he could, he would do it on Main Street. Like when he runs again against Stacey Abrams and she decides to run for governor, when they debate, he will say, "Oh yeah, I signed SB 220. You're not going to make me ashamed of doing that." So her calling us a closed door signing, trying to do it behind closed doors, did not make any sense to me. Also, she's a state rep. They read the bill before they vote on it. So like, I just looked at the bill myself. I can read it. I know what it says. These actions are out in the open. Republicans are not behind closed doors taking your right to vote because they're bold. They'll do it in your face. Look at me as I tell you, you can't do this anymore.
It's politically expedient for them to do these things. So they're afraid of marginalized folks voting in mass because that's what turns Georgia blue.
Yes.
But they already knew that these people weren't going to vote for them. They've been standing. Brian Kemp has not been on their side his entire political career. That's how he got into office, was voter suppression. This is his game. So he's not afraid of losing your vote. He doesn't want to do this in secret. He wants Trump to see him. Look at me. Look at me twirl, Daddy.
Daddy, watch me twirl. Daddy, watch my.
And watch me twirl. I can do the dance too.
Yeah. Watch me twirl. I'll suppress the black people. Watch me.
Basically. Yeah. And that's the whole Republican game.
Yeah. Yeah.
They all, oh man, Trump. Let me do the Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not a secret. That's not what the goal was. It was foolish and it was a waste, in my humble opinion. Because if we let's go back to Jim Crow.
Yes.
You really don't have to go back that far. I mean, let's look at a Stacey Abrams, contemporary. And so we got a continuum of Georgia activists for the right to vote, just try to solve social issues in general. And when there is a state actor obstructing the right to vote, the protest is not one that goes down flailing. It's one that stands with dignity. And people besmirch the name of Stacey Abrams continually because, she didn't accept her defeat graciously. I think she made a protest in not conceding, and a protest is a protest, And I'm not one for regulating protests as conservatives like to do. They like to make a lot of rules about it. Her protest was her protest. Her point was made clear, and her activism was always done with preserving her personal dignity, regardless of the situation. Head held high. I am a human being just like anybody else. I deserve respect. Democratic process. Same thing with, let's say, Rosa Parks, right?
Yeah.
Because this is another woman. Stacey Abrams is a woman. This legislator is a woman. All these women are facing oppression from white men and in their face are standing up. And it's like, look, you know, I don't have to let anything that I don't want occur to me. Right. Even if the powers are beyond me, I still will stand resolute, all my dignity intact, because I don't want to give dignity to black women. All my dignity intact, all my strength intact, standing on my values, standing on my faith, etc. But this last link in the chain varies in that, where, okay, you don't want to stand for it. You don't want to stand for what Brian Kemp is doing. Absolutely. It's time to protest. No problem. But you're protesting in an ineffectual way, just banging on doors and making noise, even though Brian Kemp is not scared to sign this in public. It's just a pandemic. That's what it is.
A panorama, you know?
Yes. A Panera Bread, if you will. But then being dragged out by the police. And that's the image that doesn't vibe with me. So even if, okay, you know, you did a foolish protest, I think it wasn't going to be fruitful. But then going down, kicking and screaming instead of, I don't know, it's kind of respectability politics. I don't know. I feel like I'm like, oh, I'm not for policing people's protests, even though I am. Like, that's what I'm saying. But like, even beyond effectiveness, just for like as a black person, I can't bear to see us go out like that. Like a Kaepernick kneeling, dignity, respect in his own way. And he's asserting his agency, even in a situation where his agency is being taken away from, because they don't want him to say anything. He's got to sit out a game. He's got to leave the league. But I'm still going to do it my way, right? No Sinatra. And we got a whole legacy of that. You can go black person after black person. You can see it over and over again. But this one, where it's like, oh no, you're going to have to drag me out. Why give them that power?
And so, for me, what I call it is in the Army, we have a term called dog and pony shows. It's when somebody who is either a congressperson, you know, somebody in the state, or a general comes by and he wants to see the troops, and we do a dog and pony show and we get information, we make sure our lines are crisp, everybody uniform looks right, you know, we sound off real loud, you know, and then we will show the representative, this is what we do, this is how the machine gun works, this is the little, you know, this is our RG, you know, our truck, you know. So when we do dog and pony show, it's supposed to be respectable. That's what it feels like we're doing here. It's like a dog and pony show. Like, I know Twitter needs to see that I'm doing something to stand up against this bill.
This is oppression. I'm getting beat up like John Lewis.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but it's not. Just like, you know, I would never equate what I did in Afghanistan to tunnel diggers in Vietnam. You know, people who got to go into a tunnel and in the pitch black, you got to kill somebody in silence who you walk up on. Like, you know, so was one guy, he was from Houston. I met him in Houston at the Manga Debaki. He was from Mississippi. He was 18 years old, graduated high school, just got a letter in the mail from the Army. You going to Vietnam. He does training, he goes to Vietnam, first day out, you're a tunnel digger, you're the smallest one. Go into that tunnel and figure out what's down there. And he just walked inside and had to kill a man. That's it. He's turned 18, hadn't had a beer, couldn't vote because, you know, in Mississippi, it's 1967, 1965, I want to say, could not vote in Mississippi, but you got to kill a man. I mean, my life in Afghanistan was nowhere near as crazy. But who am I? Who I'm to say that, like, I got this? Yeah, I'm dealing with the same thing. You know, I'm just as bad for me out there. It's nowhere near as bad. I'm nowhere as conflicted as a black man. You know, I have the right to vote in Houston. I'm not going to die for a country who don't even want to see me. You know, that's the thing I have my problems. Like, these people who are activists who fight today, you know, even I guess if we put ourselves in the same rank, I'm not doing what John Lewis did. I'm not doing what Malcolm X did or MLK. We are not those people. I'm not Huey P. Newton, you know, and Huey doesn't want me to have to be him. You know, like, he doesn't want.
He already did it.
Yeah, he already did it. Yeah, he went to jail, so we didn't have to do that. You know, it's like, if my child, you know, goes to PV, I don't want her to have to be where we did at PV. She shouldn't have to sit there and fight Waller County to vote. So, like, if I see her doing something where she's trying to, like, I'm just like you, Dad. No, you're not. It's a good thing that you're not. You're not dealing with that. And it's fine. Like you got it easy. And I wanted you to have it easy. That's why I did the stuff I did. Where's that breaking the chain? We still have an old activist still around, but our new activists, I don't know what crowd are they playing to? Is it Twitter? Is it because they need to see that?
I think it's an attempt to be effective, and we're really getting into it.
Yeah.
Hot takes from your boy. I think the information age quickly turned into the misinformation age and then the disinformation age, where there's intentionally false information propagated amongst the internet. I mean, who's doing it from where doesn't really matter. It's wrong.
Yeah.
And if you don't do your due diligence, which most will not, and even we can get caught, like you just read something, yes, this is what I think it is. And then without the double, triple check, you're looking stupid, right? Yeah. In this age, it's very easy to have a misunderstanding, one, of reality in the present, two, of history, and three, of how to solve the problems that go between the two. And so, back in the day, it worked because they got beat down. I gotta get beat down. Or back in the day, it worked because they convinced the world that they were truly oppressed. And so I have to convince the world that I am truly oppressed. And this is oversimplified, poorly researched. It's just stupid. It's not true. And so if you're not going to grapple with the reality of the past or the present in the real, finite way with expertise, because MLK, expert, John Lewis, expert, right? And all of our heroes, Fannie Lou Hamer, expert. They knew what they were dealing with. Ida B. Wells knew what she was dealing with, understood it to the core, and they could act. But if you don't understand it to the core, your actions are always going to look a little off because you haven't surveyed the battlefield well enough to know where you're going.
Yeah. It's the one thing I hate is that even when we were at PV, this became a problem for me, was that if the stakes weren't high enough, people just wouldn't vote. So like, I couldn't get you to register to vote unless I told you they didn't want you to vote. But like, they
don't though. That's it. And see, you ain't got to go to Jim Crow. Brian Kemp does not want you to vote, and he's made that very clear.
Yeah, but like, okay, when you lower the stakes and you really talk about it in actual numbers and terms, people kind of glaze over. And if it's not, guts and glory, I'm not giving you the speech from Braveheart, telling you about to fight the English. It doesn't seem to fire you up to go do what you got to do. Just stand in line. Just do your duty.
Here's the thing. I think you're right. And Stacey Abrams and the Georgia Democrats did that. Now, 2020 is aberration. That's not regular.
Yeah.
It's foolish to think that Georgia is now blue. Georgia turned blue. I do not think Georgia is blue.
Yeah.
Their
it's magenta.
Their candidates for the Senate were horrendous.
Yes.
So it was or not Senate, for the House of Representatives.
For the Senate too, she said, "I'm more conservative than Attila the Hun." What?
Yeah. So they set themselves up for those L's that they took.
Yeah.
And then Trump made it worse. So I don't think Georgia's gonna do that all the time.
Right.
But the turnout is possible. Stacey Abrams did not resort, at least to the degree that this woman has.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one could say she did resort to some hyperbole. Did not resort to the degree where, it's Jim Crow. Oh, they got to drag me out. We don't have to debase ourselves. And dare I say, like, do a song and dance. You said dog and pony shows, but I'm alluding to minstrelsy. You don't have to play a caricature of ourselves to convince ourselves to do something for ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit much. Just like that sentence, it's too much.
Yeah. These laws are like very easy to overcome. I read it and I'm just like, okay, so make sure people have ID. All you need is you need an ID number. So technically, ID doesn't have to be current. You need an ID number. And so one problem is that it should not pose locations in Black neighborhoods. That's a ridiculous thing. It's going to be long lines, right? And that's a fight that's a long and hard fight to get them to reopen those polling locations. But volunteering, someone to volunteer, showing that you have the people to man these stations and you have the people wanting to vote at these stations will help get that along. Most of these issues, you can, if you get an ID and you want to stand in line, you can vote. You know, you can do what you got to do. I know people have jobs and things like that, but I work 12s on the weekends and I work 3 to 4 days out the week. So like, I got it done though. I was sleepy, but I got it done. And my parents were the same. My dad was a school teacher and drove the bus. And when Obama came up for election, after he got done, we went straight to the polling locations. We stood outside the rain and we cast that vote because you're going to do what you got to do. You know, I'm not going to let John Lewis get his head beat in and then I'm going to be like, I don't know, man. The Rockets are playing. You know, I'm not trying to go do that.
But yeah, it's hot and I want some water. Now they got the water in the cooler, but I want you to put the water in my hand.
Yeah, that's like this, you know, cause just, I mean, it's, I know people, I understand what the, you know, the media has its reasons for why, you know, they hype this up, and the media attention to it definitely stopped Souls from the Post. Definitely stopped.
Yeah, it's a fight, and it's a fight that, I mean, like, don't let the vote be suppressed. They are doing strategies, and it is incredibly whack that in these strategies that you must defeat, but not like this.
You know, Afghanistan was still a war. It's not Vietnam.
Right. It's still a war.
You know, trees aren't speaking Vietnamese. It's still a war though. So like, you know, do what you got to do and come ready for battle. But like, I'm not that same type of dude. You know, not the same thing. And I just wish we, you know, if I know people probably gonna watch this and be pissed. Like, what do you got? Who are these two people to say this, right? You know, but I just wish that we would, you know, save the getting arrested for when it's necessary.
Yeah,
when it's time, you know, because America's always been wild. There's gonna be a time for you to get arrested. That time comes, you know, go ahead and get arrested. But this is not that time. You know, this is not the time for you to do that. This is a time for, you know, we had a trifecta. So, as I always say, pass a freaking bill. Just pass a bill. Pass a bill and call it a day. You know.
Well, John Lewis bill. What's up? HB1.
Yeah.
We're gonna see.
Joe Manchin has to be willing to get rid of filibuster. Maybe get rid of filibuster just for that bill. I don't know. Maybe you get rid of filibuster and just see what Republicans do when they get in charge. I am one to believe that even though Mitch McConnell says it's going to be hellfire and brimstone if they get in charge. I don't know. He did they tried to get rid of Obamacare, and John McCain definitely went no. So, you know, I don't know if, you know, they still have to pass bills themselves. Antonis Brown.
Irvin Bryant.
Peace.
Do it